Hey guys, welcome to I don't know what the heck am I saying, but I really am really as I said I'm gonna be starting every Wednesday. I'll just do reaction videos too, because Wednesday is a gaming time, but more of as a sort of game. It's more like a time where I can just pretty much just react whatever the fuck I want, and I just want to make some other games, other stuff too besides not just gaming because I'm a bit bored. I'll be real, guys. I am so bored playing, in repeating game stuff. So I'll just do some reaction videos because last reaction I did actually try using my very own. Um, I actually decided to try to do, I did some just reaction videos, but the problem is I'm using I think it's yeah, the actual mic filters. This is actually really for music, not really for this chat. So I'm actually buying and process some another pop filters, so I can just use it pretty much for you know I think everything. I mean that's fine. So yeah. So welcome to my actual welcome to the Wednesday channel, guys. So here we are, and I'm just doing my stuff. And do not ask me why am I doing just your typical just your typical stream. So yeah, I am honestly bored. So there are actually a few videos that I can react. Maybe I could find myself. Maybe, let's start first with the theory restart. I'll be real. Because a theory restart is honestly, I would probably say about brands, Braxophones, uh, take. Personally, I did also, did quite a bit read the video, but I didn't really just pay attention that much because I was, quite a bit busy and, doing some editing. So I wasn't able to multitask properly. So I finally have the video. Just for now, just the video. And Riley, you're just fine. So yes, here we are, and this is Brax, stuff. So it's actually a very controversial one. So I want me, even though it's 4 days ago, maybe I want to share something else. I will also like this, and I will always subscribe to Brax phone. But for now, I am not gonna be, I'm gonna say none. Maybe none or personalized, but yeah, that's just fine. But I'm just subscribing to brand, a Braxophone. Maybe it could help, find something. Yeah, it's my channel also. So apparently, a lot of these, people, as I said, you know, talk about Ethereum start, especially on how it is so I think pay to win game. Maybe this might make it just whatever it is.
138.
So let's see what this. Let me see. Let's see what I can do or how can I relate.
The year is 2138. We actually have flying cars and somehow haven't all blown up due to dick measuring contests around the globe. Elon Musk's Catgirl experiment ended years ago, and now we live alongside them. Life is strange, but life is good. You open up your invisible phone and browse the App Store, looking for a fun game. You download the first thing on the list, and why does this game look like it was made in 2012? Mobile games have improved every single year. At least some of them have. It really does feel like they're getting higher quality all the time, and that quality
I wasn't really expecting this part here.
have. It really does feel like they're getting higher quality all the time, and that quality of life improves with every new iteration. The level of story writing, storytelling, game mechanics, and overall design just keeps getting better. But that only applies to some games apparently, because somehow Ethereum Restart took everything that we felt good about in new mobile gaming and set us back 10 years. If you don't know what it is, Ethereum Restart is a PvP-enabled anime gacha game that released in early June 2025, and its goal was to be a unique addition to the anime gaming space while also being the first major modern 3D PvP gacha game. For a lot of people, gacha with
True.
PvP is a red flag, but for some, it's a green light.
Personally, for me personally, I would probably just make my own opinions here. I don't really see Theory Racer as a gotcha game, but more of as a sort of story behind. For me personally, I kind of see this as a Honkai Star Rail plus Idol Heroes. I personally would say, tell you that. But what about you? Because personally, when I played my If You Restart for the first time, it just reminded me back in the day where Idle Heroes. I actually want to tell you the story about my Idle Heroes. My actual favorite character in Heroes was Aspen, and yeah, I don't know where is that account. I cannot even retrieve it because I really forgot the password and I cannot even access the account. I don't know if maybe it got deleted already because that was practically like 5 years ago. That's even before pandemic or even just during the pandemic. I guess 2020 or 2021. That's the years I played because I actually was able to play the game for 8 months straight, and I was actually just having fun personally. And honestly, uh, after I reach a certain game in Idle Heroes, I kid you not, I'll tell you the truth. The fact that I was able to get to the E2, yeah, 10 star. Basically, it's practically like 12 star of a character. And the moment you reach 13 star, things are about to get really, really, really expensive. And I kid you not, sacrificing another 10 star is basically like, as a free to play, is basically like, I just remove a year's months worth of effort. Because guys, I did actually, to tell you the truth, is that I was able to save around 400 pulls plus 100, and I believe it's 150,000, somewhere between 150,000 to 250,000 gems, and that's practically very high. And I think that was like worth, I don't know, if it's 3,000 pools, somewhere around like 2,000 to 3,000 pools. I was able to save that much without even pulling for the life, but I was able to get there with E2. Let alone like 12 star. I was able to fully assemble a team of 10 star. Like goddamn, going to like 11 star, 12 star. Holy shit, that was so expensive, and I'm not. And I hate to admit that. I still recall that I was still playing the game. You know, before that kind of like the some sort of like the celestial one, the celestial update there. I actually was surprised that in order for you to get to celestial, you need to get like E5 or something, which is very expensive, like 15 stars. And personally, well, it's somewhat like a turn-based game too, but it's not necessarily a turn-based game too, personally, because Idle Heroes is a different kind of game, but it is extremely pay to win. And let me remind you that the game itself is also made by the Chinese developers. I really wonder what's right there now because damn, it's been very long since I last played that game. The Celestial update literally killed my time to play in the game because of how ridiculously expensive it is. Plus, there's a lot of pay to win people. And oh, by the way, let me tell you that 400 pulls, premium pulls plus 150 to 250,000 gems. I did all that with free to play. That's how far I was able to get. My patience is how far to get. Honestly, the gacha games really just makes it even more pay to win. Personally, but yeah, it is what it is.
Light straight into a casino. Funny enough, if PvP felt like the focus of Etheria, I probably wouldn't have disliked it so much after investing 30 hours. PvP in gacha is ultimately about who spends the most money, and I love my tax write-off. But the more I write the script and reflect on my time playing, the more I realize how fucked up this game is. From poor game design to using AI art to save a buck,
Yikes! AI art. AI art. Oh, guys, let me remind you that I'm actually a computer engineer, guys. And let me remind you that in reality, guys, I don't really see a point where you can stop, AI from happening all the time, especially with artists. I hate to admit this, guys, that I actually recall one of these particular questions in my school just recently. It's like this. This is a situation that kind of makes me feel like, yeah, ethics and moral standards, being a utilitarian nism, I guess, being like that. But I don't know if it's very related. But this is actually the situation. So the situation is that you are an AI developer, and your plan is, you're an AI developer, and where is it? Hang on. You are an AI developer, and that is used for traffic, for public operations, and pretty much like the yeah, the public operations and um what's it called? For let me find it. Let me find it. It's actually on my um yeah, CPA ethics. Perfect. This is actually I'm studying very well because it's basically here. So hang on, let me find this. It actually shook me to the core itself. So here's the situation. This is a scenario. So this scenario right here is basically you develop an AI system that can be used for both public safety and surveillance. So the task is identify the stakeholders and ethical issues, apply the ethical reasoning, which is utilitarianism and duty based, and your decision. Decide would you sell to the government entity, justify your action, present your ethical stance. So here is my situation, guys. So let's be real that AI itself is actually inevitable and will always show itself slowly but surely. It's like creeping out slowly but surely. But here's the thing, guys. So we already know that AI art is also a big deal. But yeah, that's sure that's fine. Especially as a computer engineer, this is a CPE, so ethics. So this is actually my part here. So AI itself is not really my interest. Honestly, I'm just using my AI for coding. But let me remind you, this is really gonna take really gonna be a bit of controversy with this one. It's the fact that my answer is depends. So for my ethical reasoning, who are the ethical reasoning in this case in the situation with AI arts? So if I would say this situation is AI instead of public safety and surveillance, with artists and basically like computer scientists or coders, programmers, yeah, those are pretty much the stakeholders. Like any, if you are talking about ChatGPT, maybe the artists themselves, maybe animations, sure. So here's the thing, guys. It is very unavoidable, but the thing is, are you decide, would you actually sell it to some sort of stuff? If that's the case, personally, would you sell it to the government agency? Who should I sell this kind of AI art to? Maybe maybe the game companies. Maybe that's my actual interpretation of the government agency because I'm talking here as more of a anatomy or basically a very relating anatomy. So if you're someone else who kind of develops like the AI art, first of all, this is a very hard question, a very hard decision actually. So if you're gonna say no because you want to respect artists, there will be competition from other sources to other people. Is the fact that people have competition. Let's be real. And if they have competition, they make innovations, which means that if there's innovation, things are gonna get better, right? So that means that if you don't sell, others will take it, and it's much even better. So fuck this, right? So fuck the artist, right? Like maybe not really that. It's just not the thing is because we're talking ethics. Not I don't really say, you know, this is very controversy as I said. It's the fact that if there is competition and there's innovation, that means pretty much that the fact is um there's going to be competition, there will be someone else who's going to actually get an opportunity to gain even more money. Because if that person, for instance, that new competitor, or even you yourself, lives as poor, not necessarily poor, but average, who wants to get something, get your own desire to be rich or something. Everybody likes to be rich because, rich can actually help you a lot in certain ways because you're actually selling happiness, right? You're gonna definitely going to sell that pretty much. And well, I'll tell you the truth that if you're gonna say no, then others will take that opportunity and you will lose your money or life. But I think if you can handle it, that's fine. But the fact is that someone will actually even take it sooner or later. Maybe I hope that it will be very much later. But if it's sooner, well, it is what it is, right? So, and then if you're gonna say yes, then you're the one who actually took that opportunity in the first place. And then, of course, who are gonna be affected with the actual AI stuff? Of course, it can be anyone. The ones that can be easily replaced, like the artists. It can also be like the editors, right? It's really that hard. I mean, it's really, really that hard, personally. Well, if it's the if it's that AI art, personally, if you're a normal people and you know that this is that AI itself can really help you make productions much faster, like the situation like if you're restart, then yes, it's an obvious fact. Sooner or later, they're gonna be using AI art. Like it or hate it or not. If they don't use AI art, sure, that's fine. But if there will be a time that even sooner or later that even games are gonna use AI art because they could save money. But the thing is that I don't really know when, but it's really inevitable because it's slowly but surely taking over. And I hate to tell you that because people themselves want results. They don't want something much more complicated than that. And AI just do that. AI is not really complicated to use. And if you're a person that is very sensitive or basically kind of like having a motivation or agenda, yeah, you're pretty much F yourself up for that. Sorry. I'm very sorry if that's the case.
Etheria Restart is full of problems that nobody is talking about because they're all sponsored.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
When I played, I decided to stay completely free to play because when I played the beta, I wasn't impressed with the gameplay loop, and even though you'd get your money back and more from the rebate, knowing my luck, I'd have better chances on a reroll than by spending $200. So when the game released, I rerolled for 8 hours.
はい、今出ます。
See, Etheria gave out quite a few polls, but it has this huge problem that's present in some other gacha games where the best characters from the standard character pool are rarer than the worst characters. It's the sort of scummy thing that some gacha developers do to make sure that you'll be willing to spend more money to compete in PvP or on some kind of leaderboard. And the reason it works is because most people don't know that the rarer ones are much better until it's too late for you to actually re-roll. Remember, it's not the majority of players who are watching YouTube and reading guides on games. Most people are going into Etheria without an idea of what characters they actually want to pull for.
In fact, the first thing that I kind of realized in my own mind is the fact that this is much, when I played this Etheria Restart, I'll tell you the truth that you probably really want Messiah pretty much. Because the thing is in these games is that there is some sort of elements here. And if you get a DPS that has a weakness to other, like other elements. Like for instance, your leaf is nature, and you're pretty much strong against water, but weak against fire. And you pretty much do not want to have a weak point pretty much in the game, especially if we're talking about PvP. You pretty much do not want to have a weakness. You pretty much want to have a much a at least like a normal like normal damage against you, normal or uh normal and strength, like normal but critical times two. Basically, that's how I think feel like. It's the reason why Messiah is very, 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 very important as a DPS because he doesn't have that kind of weakness. Although his weakness is actually his polar opposite, but even if the polar opposite has their own weakness against him, so there's no really big deal there. You pretty much take more damage to them, but they also take damage from you. Yeah. Basically, you do not have weakness against the other affinities, pretty much. And the thing is, with these, with this constant and disorder, basically light and dark. If you get light and dark DPS, you're pretty much good to go. And I will tell you that I'm actually playing also Ethereal Research right now. I'm just doing the daily grinds because in reality it's just pretty much okay. Just okay game, but quite a bit of a surprise that this game is pretty much a pay to win. I have to tell you the truth, but that's fine.
But to make matters worse, the rarer standard units, called LD units,
Are so fucking expensive. 3 times more the price. 3 times. And the thing is, permanent summon, you have the possibility of pulling them too, but it's much lower. I actually even got Lily.
have their own
Lilith, by the way, which is actually the I have the disorder one. The disorder unit, the dark unit, which is much more rarer. It's just fine. I actually just pretty much want to grind. Honestly, I will tell you the truth. I don't really do PvP stuff because it's just really that difficult. Honestly, if you are someone else who is doing PvP, yeah, it's really a pay to win.
own separate banner that guarantees them at 3 times the price per pull. This is another method that XD, Etherea's developers, used to trick you into thinking that the game is free-to-play friendly because the
They're not free to play friendly, guys. I will tell you guys the real reason. I will tell you guys my experience with this is the fact that
LD units can
LUs can be obtained.
be earned without the 3 times price banner, but realistically, your odds of getting them are once per 4 SSRs, which have a 1% drop.
But it's never guaranteed to be an LD. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Chance, assuming you don't go to pity. If we assume you get super lucky and get one every 40 pulls, you'd need to do 160 pulls per LD unit, which, considering how many units there are in this game.
Oh, by the way, even the LD units. Let me remind you guys that LD units, you do not even get the specific character for the LD units. You have the chance to get this Messiah. You have the chance to get Sanya, the dark version. You also have the chance to get Doki Doki, and you also have a chance to get Lily, which is this is actually what I got from the 20.5%, and then you can also get pretty much where is it? Where are the characters besides I think it's only them. I think it's only them, and there's another upcoming unit which is gonna be a constant order, which is the light. Oh, and also Mio, by the way. So yeah. It's so fucking expensive. It's I will tell you not the truth. Do not actually just pull for the SS, the 3 times expensive banner.
Your odds of hitting the ones that you want are significantly lower. It does have 100% rate up on the limited character banners, but those aren't always the units you need. And you might be thinking,
and the thing is, guys, you don't have a lot of these units I keep getting is not DPS. It's support. Support fucking units. I keep getting support units. I'm actually trying to find a DPS unit. A DPS. Particularly any sort of DPS of constant. Or constant and, and disorder. Those 2 are things I need, pretty much. And the rest are good. It's really hard to get, I will tell you.
oh, well, Brax, this is a gacha game. Obviously, you want to go for specific characters on your reroll, and you are 100% right. Not all SSRs and not all LD units are created equal, because if you don't have Lily, the game is basically fucking unplayable. Can you play it? Sure. Do you enjoy having your balls hooked up to a car battery? Probably. Welcome to Etheria Reroll. You're going to be here trying to get Lily for the next 4 days.
By the way, I got Lily. Oh, sure. Actually, she does help a lot. But personally, I don't really see her use in PvP. PvP. Because pretty much I only see her as a very useful for PvE. Honestly, Mike's also my experience with Doki Doki, or pretty much Doki Doki with Rimocha. Honestly, having her and Rimocha are very, 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 very great. Personally, I was able to 3-star Nightmare. Even, all of my units have debuffs pretty much, even though Rimocha is just a DPS, because every time you kill as Rimocha, you're able to reduce her skill cooldown, which is pretty much insane considering that I was able to maximize. Actually, um, as I said, having Ramocha and Lily together is very insanely, very very insanely powerful you know um on Doki Doki, because pretty much if you just keep on killing the entire group in one shot, you're basically just spamming her entire her ultimate her skills pretty much, and her skills deals a lot of damage. The more damage that you deal, especially their ultimate. Not gonna lie, that's how broken my new team is. And then of course that's the reason why I kind of maxed out her Remocha's level, her ultimate. I was already able to max her out pretty much her level 5, which actually on level 5 it says here is that the increases the ratio of splash damage to 33 to 100%. This is insanely strong. The more damage you dealt the opponent during those 3 single attacks, especially the lower the HP of the unit, and then the moment that you kill also increase the damage output. That's how broken Lily gets.
Because the difference between accounts that had cleared hide content by day 3 and the accounts that hadn't was that all of the ones who had cleared had Lily. Lily has a speed increase, a crit damage increase, an action advance, and a cooldown reset. This is like if Bronya gave you an action forward in HSR 1.0, instantly cleared MOC 12, handed you the keys to a Porsche, and sucked your. And Lily isn't the only unit that this game requires you to have to be able to keep up, because they designed the PvE to actually be hard, which honestly isn't that big of a deal if you're willing to learn, except for the fact that some bosses basically require you to build specific characters. And in order to do that, you have to log in 3 times a day for 14 business days to use your stamina and not overcap. And
That's the problem that I had with Hero Restart, is that you are forced to grind. Personally, for me, you are forced to grind 2 times a day, or even 3 times, as mentioned by Brax. That's 2 to 3 times a day is just basically just, I'm tired. Especially if you're a person that plays multiple gacha games at once, like having more than 5 a day. Yeah, that's gonna be very exhausting. Because in every dailies, I pretty much every dailies takes like around like 10 minutes. Honestly, if you're thinking about hard, but that's only 1 hour of dailies, not even other games that you do play. But also, you know, if you're having much more other responsibilities, that shit sucks. Let's be real. If you have more responsibilities, for me personally, I'm gonna be streaming every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, but depending on the schedule, because my schedule right away sucks so bad in the coming next 2 weeks or so because I have exam. Fuck shit. Fuck this shit, man. I really hate my schedule personally because I'm going to school at around 8 o'clock in the morning till 9. And the thing is, if you're saying, by the way, if you're gonna be saying that you're a beggar, honestly, for not, just go to work, just have yourself, work. In Philippines, that's not possible, guys, because here in the Philippines, the system itself is shit, sucks. It sucks, not feasible. And in Australia, I was hoping that I could go for Australia, that I can do also some work, even if it's gonna be reality hitting hard for me and a big change. That's not a big change, but at least I can improve my life, bro. That's much better. And also, you can also earn money for real. I mean, sure, but here in the Philippines, even going to McDonald's requires you to go for a full-time job. Even go to Starbucks requires full-time job. I kid you not. That's why we have something called known as on-the-job training on 4th year. 4th year. That's the reason why, because nowadays these companies want in the Philippines wants a sort of like having experience, but being a student themselves, like I was, I was, my parents actually tried to make me having a full time job in the Philippines, but the problem with the Philippines is that the fact is that in Philippines, being a on job training is gonna be very impossible because of the nature of the schools. If you're on a college like an engineer, yeah, that's gonna be sucks a lot because you're going to school sometimes like 6 times a day, 6 times a week, and some subjects are basically always going to be always like 5 or 6 subjects, and you don't have the time to pretty much just do on the job training, because if you do the on the job training, you're gonna get yourself effed up. Because some people, like, they do like go to McDonald's, work for there, and then pay their own tuition, but when they realize that they cannot handle the responsibilities, because if you don't go to work you cannot feed yourself, and then if you cannot do the if because if you're focusing on your studies, but if you're doing work and then you're doing less, if you're doing work so you can sustain yourself, then what about your school? You're pretty much you cannot do some you cannot handle the responsibilities. You're gonna fail and you're gonna waste your money. I mean, that's that's a problem here in the Philippines too, but I don't but not all can not all people can do that, but some people can do those, but I don't know what's their situation. Maybe they're just lucky or something. But hey, it is what it is. It is what it is for them. By the way, that it is what it is also a reference from Tecton. It's very nice actually to use personally. Very nice.
In fact, by then, your characters probably still wouldn't even be maxed because it takes so goddamn long to level them.
And by the way, let me remind you that a lot of our, the system in our school. By the way, our school does love to, especially in our generation, they kind of love to pay to win in some games. They really do love to pay to win in games, and having pay to win in games like me, that like I do spend while not earning, through work but through allowance, it is, you know, it's gonna take a toll effect, very very much, and well, it's reality. So if you're a beggar, well, you're fine to be a beggar too. If Japanese says that you're a beggar, that's fine, because personally, if you're in the Philippines, like in a third world country, it is what it is. You can actually, there's a reason behind it, because they can't really see the reality of other countries. I mean, that's true. Like, if you're someone else like on the first world country like Japan, and then you're gonna say like, oh, other the global itself is like beggars. But remember, globals includes third world countries that like um, I would probably say like Philippines, like third world countries like Philippines, maybe some other countries like uh what's the other example of third world countries, because I don't really know other third world countries because I fucking hate history, and I really hate on you know uh I don't have really that much knowledge regardless about other world countries, but if you're in the Philippines, you probably would realize that, yeah, you probably, because the amount of polls is very expensive unless you can find a way how to escape that sort of barrier of earning something. Because my plan also is to escape that barrier so I can do also content for much better. Thing is, I really do suggest you can watch me. Maybe, by the way, maybe my opinions are just right or wrong, but I am just here to just make some critical thinking too. But I cannot really have 100% definition of an answer. But as much as possible, just opinions are just opinions. Maybe I never used the right words personally, but that's fine.
Them to max, and then ascend them to give them another star, and level them to max again, and then ascend them again to give them another star, and
By the way, that's actually just fine. I don't have any problems with the actual, leveling up, because it's just really just fine, personally. But it is quite very annoying, personally, that you gotta you do the reset. I didn't actually experience this on Idle Heroes. I think you can still retain the level, I think, but you have there is, or maybe not. I don't know. I really forgot because I only have I don't have any more the knowledge of Idle Heroes pretty much. But I think you don't. I think you don't. I think you still retain the level. It's just that the cap itself is just increased because the cap itself like 20 levels. Is that even 20 levels is a much big deal from 5 star to 6 star. Especially that you also are in that case you're also upgrading skills.
This game's grind is a disaster. This game has so much grinding to it that the club would be jealous. First off, you have shells, which are basically weapons with RNG sets. Then you have modules, which are gear with RNG stats and RNG sets. Then you have prowess, which is your character's skill levels that takes not only specific missions, but also incredibly rare resources that you have very limited amounts of, and the character's level and ascension, which XP can be farmed for, but at very slow rates, and once you max out the character's level, you have to ascend them to make them even stronger.
And by the way, the Red Shadow blueprint is so goddamn expensive. And you need 5 of those. You need 5 of those. I kid you not.
And those resources are ridiculously limited as well. Problem is that it takes so many resources and so much time to level a character, their shell, their prowesses, and their modules that free-to-play players are better off going to college for 4 years and getting a f***ing job to swipe instead.
True. 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 But the problem is, games have FOMOs. Games do use FOMOs, forcing you to spend the money while you do not yet earn. That's the problem with gacha games. FOMOs.
And not only does it take a ridiculous amount of time and stamina to level
Hang on, let me see. Let me read again.
their prowesses and their modules that free-to-play players are better off going to college for 4 years and getting a f***ing job to swipe instead.
This is true. Yeah, true. By the way, FOMO does actually forces you to quite not focus on your. There's a tendency that even the FOMO itself can influence your mind as a whole. Spend even if you don't earn, or even use your parents' credit card, maybe. Classic.
And not only does it take a ridiculous amount of time and stamina to level characters, it also takes a ridiculous amount of time to level your account as well. Each 10 stamina you spend is 10 experience, so it's basically a level or 2 a day after you get somewhat into the game.
And by the way, I was actually trying to abuse the ×2. I use my mental stabilizers only for the ×2 because of how ridiculously important it is. Because I was farming Doki Doki with the ×2 multiplier for freaking 10 hours. And I still didn't even waste. I was not able to waste the entire 30 because the level itself is so slow. Honestly, I will tell you that I was able to grind at least like 1 minute each. Wondering why you cannot farm, wondering why you're so slow in farming. Probably because I was doing other stuff besides grinding, I mean, I'm streaming, guys, so I cannot just do, I cannot just really do that. But it is what it is.
And less than a level a day at higher level. If you use premium currency, you can refill stamina up to 10 times a day though, which will put you literally 3 to 4 days ahead every single day, which massively helps you get through the story locked content and get to PvP faster. We all thought this was going to be a PvP focused game with PvE in it, and somehow the devs made it a PvE game where you can only get to the PvP if you survive 4 hours of shitty Honkai Impact 3rd style missions. At the beginning,
True. I was not actually able to get to PvP. I was not able to get to PvP until like I think like 3 weeks. What is it? When did I start playing? I think I started playing 1 June 2. So 2 weeks. Wait, is it 2 weeks? No. Yeah, around somewhere between 2 weeks.
Of the game, you're required to do the story, which ultimately isn't that big of a deal, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say that that was one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had in a gacha game. It's not that the story is hard, it's that the story missions are a chore. It feels like you're in a tiny little box and you have to go from one side to the other and you can't stray at all. And whenever there's an enemy, there's a 50-50 chance you get forced into a combat session. If you're a story enjoyer, I'm sure it's fine, but the year is 2025. Why is the story being told like our phones are Nokia bricks?
Nokia bricks.
So in order to access PvP, you have to do the story up to a certain point. In fact, to access and move forward with any part of the game, you're required to do the story. The one saving grace is that there is a skip button for people who don't care, but because the story is level gated, there's a lot of times where you just can't play the game.
Level gated, true. Level gated. I think you really need to reach like 25 just to actually get to PvP. I think 25, I'm not sure. 25 or 20, somewhere between there. 20 and 25.
Beyond doing daily auto farm missions unless you spend your premium currency on refills of stamina. On the contrary to that, when you level up, you get more stamina that you have to spend immediately or you'll overcap. So sometimes
True, 100 each.
you're forced not to play the game, and other times you're forced to play the game. And all of
More for me personally, I just forced to play the game. If you're forcing yourself, I really do suggest that do not play if you're a restart. If you don't want to force yourself on playing, some games. Sometimes because Ethereum restart takes a lot of time. Not good.
of this is just on the quest to get to a high.
Oh, by the way, I still have that short video. I think I still have to record a short video. Hang on. Where's it at? Maybe late. Wait, hang on. Still have the short. Hang on, let me just play it for you. This is the time when I reached level 25. And by the way, this is Nightmare 1. Oh, we're fucked.
目をふっ大丈夫
And suddenly how hard this actual if you're gonna be going for a level 25, I mean, sure, you're gonna be level 25, but expect some much even more difficult to play. By the way, my remote is actually has the best set. Level 25 is not a joke, guys. I kid you not. Starting on level 25, it's not a joke.
High enough level to be able to farm the endgame gear so that way you can play the PvP. How long does it take to get to endgame farming and actually compete in PvP as a free-to-play player who's not wasting their premium currency? Drum roll, please. 30 to 60 days.
わかってるって
30 to 60 days.
30 to 60 days, what's you mean? What do you mean?
PvP. How long does it take to get to endgame farming and actually compete in PvP as a free-to-play player who's not wasting their premium currency? Drum roll, please. 30 to 60 days.
Oh, I guess I get it. I think. Okay, got it. So if you're not spending your hydro crystals, I mean, okay, makes sense. You're forced to pay. You're forced to play the game. Even I myself, I even tell I myself was actually planning on just experiencing a bit of a premium payment purchase, I guess, with RIO for like 100, like $1, sure. But I got myself seeing a no option available on the on the premium purchase because they don't have something called Gcash. I was supposed to become a non-free to play, like a casual player personally, but I was being forced to do F2P because they do not have the option. Not sure that's fine because let's see if I could handle the Ethereum restart, but let's see.
わかってるって
You have to play through this auto farm slop for 1 to 2 months just to be able to enjoy endgame PvP. And enjoy is being used loosely, because if you're free to play, you should honestly just give up. If you don't have the right units, you're going to struggle with PvE farming and PvP. This game's progression is so incredibly slow that it feels terrible to try and level up. It feels like your characters make no progress daily. The pacing is so poor that for most people, the only way you're going to enjoy this game is by spending. I mean, this is literally the
By the way, this is similar to Idle Heroes.
gameplay for almost 2 months. You would genuinely have a better time watching paint dry and eating the paint chips off the wall afterwards.
I would just rather play DMC, guys. That's much better, by the way. Even if 500, I was able to purchase this at around like 500 pesos, or basically like $10. And oh boy, I was able to play the JCE. Just better, use your money on some other thing else. You can just save your money. I really highly suggest. Personally, I just use my money so I can make content and I can actually get return back after, I don't know, maybe months, maybe years, if I still, or maybe years after I still continue, playing, doing this stuff. But hey, I'm still enjoying because I have my own computer and now I can do the heck well what I want with my computer at ultra high settings. That's much better than paying these games so that they, get themselves effed up for real and yeah, make a bad patch. Honestly, personally, I kind of feel like Wuthering Waves, their skins pretty much. It's so expensive, like $30, $15. I mean, man, that's so expensive as hell. 15, but if you do not have, if you don't have the times 2, that's around like 20 plus. I mean, why do you really want to spend that much on a skin? And especially if you know that if you don't have the character, you cannot even use the skin. And then if you don't use the character, even if you don't use the character, then what's the point of using the skin? Maybe it's just for increased dopamine for a short period of time, but when you realize sooner or later that you don't really use the character anymore, yeah, you just waste your money. Congratulations, just like I did for 3,000. I mean, maybe like $30. Sure. Surely $30. Sure. I did actually have a mistake twice. Twice. Great. 2 times. 2 times. I really suggest that you do not spend on skins. Just spend it on other else. Maybe food. Maybe just spend it on, maybe just spend your money. Go for your family. Just treat them if you really want. And then you're gonna be the happiest man or even a person alive. That's much better. Honestly, I don't know if I could do that with my parents or even my grandma, my grandparents right now. But sooner, maybe yes, I will. Yeah. Yeah, the 4 p.m. At 4 a.m. Well, I'm just gonna say this. That's fine.
And honestly, I was gonna leave the video mostly at that, just being, kind of pay to win and not very fun in the PvE. But then the devs decided to suicide their game. Here's the thing, they decided to make a pretty good overall PvP system, with different game modes like an offline defense mode and a real-time arena. They even...
By the way, the Summit Arena was actually very hard for me personally. And the reason why the Summit Arena is so hard for me is the fact that I'm facing players that don't really do PvE stuff because of how many, that doesn't do PvP for longer periods of time, because there's a lot of whales, and we already know that how much a low spender having a big difference. We already know how much of a big difference is a low spender to a free to play game. I mean, let's be real, $5, $10, $1. That's a lot of big difference already. Especially with characters, man. You need something. You need other characters for this. For this stuff. Because it's so damn hard. It's so hard to grind. Also, by the way, also, let me remind you that if you play this game for so long, or sooner or later, like after like 14 days, the rewards are you're getting a diminishing returns, because because the game itself is slowly starting to become a stagnant in your progress because of uh on how bad the the system really is. Especially, you really know that there's a competition here, a very strong competition game, which is a PvE, which is of course the Summon Arena and the If Arena. Basically, these are just PvP because as much as possible, you really want to get the highest rewards as much as possible to get the best benefits or the best out. The best. How we can say? We can say the best rewards for your progress. And if there's someone who's just free to play, you're gonna have to have a hard time on catching up to those players because, yeah, being a spender in the games, gives you a significant advantage. This is actually a big problem with these games is that being a pay to win or a spender in the game gives you a significant advantage, especially on competition. This is not actually a problem with mobile games as a whole because in mobile games because their main point of selling is pretty much skins and the characters itself you can just purchase by free to play or you can just purchase them by of course spending. But in free to play, you are basically more of a grinding for that specific character because you can purchase any of those characters at any time. It's not really a big deal because you have the ability to choose which one. So it doesn't really you know, it doesn't really force you to spend even more. The only thing is skins are making you addicted, right? Because of the good effects, just to flex out. Sure, it's not a big, problem. But here in the tier restart, this is actually a much bigger issue because they have skins, but also the characters are not, you know, you cannot even choose the character that you like though, especially in the permanent summon pool, because in reality, the permanent summon pool is much more better. Pool. But the thing is, the problem is with tier restart is the fact that I'm always getting a lot of these characters as a support or even sub DPS, not a full DPS, a support. Pretty much, I get support and healers. That's reality that's reality in the tier restart.
Arena. They even have
Theory
private
start.
matches and a system made for casting tournaments. It's honestly super impressive how much work they put into it and how well it functions. Duplicates of characters still do give bonus stats, and your units matter just as much as your gear, but that's about what you'd expect from a gacha game. And for sure, the best part of Etheria Restart is how good the PvP system is, despite its flaws. The weird part, though, is that they've been nerfing units that people spent weeks worth of resources on. The trash!
Yeah, I heard this one, but I don't have any clue with this. Let's be real, I don't have any clue with this one, but yeah,
Because
that's gonna be a very painful one. I wonder why they added Rick and Vigor in the first place. The character reset. Yeah, no wonder why they added that.
get this, the boss that's meant to be farmed is being farmed too easily.
Oh, by the way, let me remind you guys that this boss right here, especially my main DPS, is actually having a weakness on this particular element, so I cannot really clear this boss very well. And this is actually a really, really, really a big problem for me personally because I realize on how hard Aurora is. Even at normal, they have the boss itself has a significant difference with the normal ones such as Doki Doki or even like um you know Doki Doki and Terminator. I think I just call it Terminator. Sure, no problem.
No, I'm not joking. Within 2 weeks of this game being released, they felt like people were farming the game too easily, so they nerfed a character that people spent all of that time investing in. Like, I just...
Wait. I just read the site.
game is for you to not play the game that much. Like, there's literally stamina in the game for that reason, to stop you from playing all the time. So I don't really understand why it would be a problem that people are clearing the content that they're supposed to be clearing using a strategy that's completely fair and within the rules of the game. Balancing characters to PvE is a huge mistake for a game with PvP in it. Naturally, players weren't too happy with the decision. After all, what sense does it make to make PvE farming harder in a gacha game? And to add insult to injury, XD didn't even offer to refund players their invested resources until players began to criticize them for it. As mentioned 30 times in this video already, it takes a ridiculous amount of resources to level a character in that game. It's like they don't even play their own game. I don't know what they're thinking.
Because it's actually much more greedy. The companies itself are greedy, and being as a company, you gotta realize that they need to earn money too. You know, they really need to earn money. They really need to earn money, but you know, their greed can go over sometimes. For instance, like the Infinity Nikki situation.
At this point, if recent events are anything to go off of, then Etheria Restart is more cooked than the chicken I had for dinner because I'm terrified of food poisoning. Speaking of cooked though, it gets even worse for Etheria because genuinely, what the fuck is this? Yeah, so basically to save a couple bucks and not hire real artists, XD used generative AI to create their character splash arts. Now, sure, I can understand the argument that it's XD's game and they can do what they want with their own property, but what I'm wondering is, if this company has millions of dollars to spend on marketing and made back millions more dollars in the first week of the game, how is it that they couldn't afford to throw $10,000 at an actual artist to make their splash arts and not have huge glaring errors in them? That kind of
Because they want immediate results. They want immediate results. They do. Sometimes an artist takes quite a very, very long time to actually create an art. I don't know how many hours do they do the art, but if a company sometimes really wants an AI, an AI to do so, yeah, sure, it's not a big deal. But being in fact that I want to remind you back on what I said with the AI stuff before. I really forgot. I was not able. I think I was not able to mark it up. But as someone else as a computer engineer, if you're someone else who actually does the sort of like the AI art stuff, or the like, I make like chat GPTs or chat GPTs, Grok, or even other sort of AI stuff. Of course, if you're someone else who does make also like the AI stuff like the Groks or ChatGPT, well, this is just my opinion. Of course, uh, there are three. You are most likely forced to sell. If you're selling, or if you're selling to who, probably the consumers themselves, and that consumer can also be either be government, or it can be game companies, or it can be anyone at any time. It can be anyone. I kid you not. It can be anyone. Let's be real. It can be anyone. Because if anyone, if anyone can actually, if anyone can actually, what is it? If you're someone else who creates an AI art, maybe I'm just repeating, okay? So if you're someone else who actually creates AI for arts, of course there's gonna be pros and cons here. Being a utilitarianism, that you pretty much if you're normal people, especially as a consumer, of course you're going to pretty much want immediate results rather than a non-results, especially if you're doing some live stream services that like takes like 1 month or 2 months, like for an art or even for a character it takes like what, like 1 month, 2 months, like that. I mean, sure. Hang on. I wasn't really thinking very well. So hang on. Well, I was just, as I said again, if you're a consumer in this case, if like for instance like XD company, right? XD company as a whole, right? If you're We're talking ethics here, okay? Ethics and morals here. Being a utilitarianism, because if you're for instance, just in this is just the anatomy. If I myself created this kind of AI art that kind of an AI art that creates like the anime arts, programming, or all rounder types that is used in the digital space. Digital space that is basically computers as a whole. So if I am an AI developer, of course I'm going to sell it on companies like what like for instance if you're games like XD companies, right? Sure, I will sell it for to earn money. But if for instance if I'm someone else who does decline in respect to artists, I'm gonna lose that kind of opportunity. Because remember, guys, life exists. I mean, if you're not gonna be the one who's selling it, someone else will do it. Someone else will do it. If both of you have the same purpose, someone else will do it. It's not you. It's not your family. It's not even your friends. Maybe strangers from other countries. Does that? I mean, sure. I'm gonna be selling because, of course, first of all, AI is inevitable. I mean, AI itself is just inevitable, but AI is just inevitable plus not the actual. AI itself is just inevitable. Um, as I said, AI itself is inevitable, and of course, life also exists because you need for it for your survival, and then after for your survival, so you can actually treat your own family, yourself, maybe anyone else besides your friends, maybe So of course, you created that. Of course, if you created that program, of course, first of all, you're gonna be showing what it's capable to do on the companies. If the company wants the results, they will do it. They're not gonna hire artists because of it. They're gonna be doing it for what? Like, they want immediate results. If you're a normal person, sure. If you're a normal person, you want immediate results. Sure, it makes you even want more to use it rather than spending on someone else who's gonna tutor you, which costs money because AI itself can actually just be free because they have other ways on how they could actually earn money. So you know, so basically you are basically like you're getting an immediate results with almost good quality over an artist, over an artist that does art, of course. If that's the case, in this case, the AI allegation situation here is the fact that where is it? I don't know where is it? I didn't miss. Yeah, this is actually a near great results. And if of course, companies will just do that. Not only saves them money, but it also saves them time. Yeah, sure, but what's the cost? Of course, the stakeholders here would be, of course, the consumer, and the artist. The artist is the one that loses. This is just facts. I mean, facts. AI is inevitable. You all have the possibility to be replaced, but I'm not sure on how long. Maybe I explained this more of as an ethical and with obviously ethical stuff. Kind of like to use ethics honestly. This is also an opinion plus maybe I hope it's just an opinion that can be falsely, but I don't really know. Maybe it's because it's gonna be true for someday. Some days this is gonna be true. I just don't know when. It's up to you on how to slow it down, especially as an artist. Honestly, I'm not good at art, but it is what it is.
Gacha rug pull meta developed over the past few years. Don't get me wrong, it looks better than Epic 7 by far, but this game still feels like it's so far behind every other new gacha game. With its story missions, its archaically and needlessly confusing UI, and its extra gacha rarity mentality. The game is
Confusing UI, not a really big deal, but it's not really a big issue with the confusing AI. But the story design itself is just meh. Honestly, the poor story design. I'll be real, guys. I actually said I didn't. I honestly feel like the story in this game is more like an average. Probably because I played Clair Obscure. Because a Clair Obscure is also a turn-based game, and I enjoyed the heck out of it too. Even if it cost like what $40. Yeah, I did enjoy the heck out of it, and it was worth my time too. Even I haven't even started. I haven't even. I'm not sure if I'm halfway through, but I'm really far already. I think in the story, and I'm still enjoying the heck out of it. In fact, this actually kills me on the story itself, especially on the same basis. As I said, if you a restart for me personally, it's not a gotcha game, but more of as a maybe a gotcha game, sure. But I feel like it's more of a turn-based game or very very close to Island Heroes. I just don't know the genre itself. I just really need to find a genre that's much more suitable for this because for me personally, a gotcha game that has a 50-50 mechanics. But this one, it is actually kind of like a 50-50 mechanics, but instead it was divided like what, like 0. Like 8% each characters. I mean, you can get the desired character that you need, but it's 8% because pretty much especially on the premium on the standard banner, which is okay personally because the standard banner is just fine. But if you're someone else who's gonna be pulling for the especially like the desired characters, it's gonna be always FOMO. Let's be real, it's gonna be FOMO. And also the problem with the gacha itself, the gacha part, the summoning part, is the fact that you are mostly forcing yourself to pull on the 10, on the permanent summon because there is something called known as the special unit characters, which is okay personally. But yeah, I actually got Lily there, which is okay. And personally, a lot of these people, who have yeah, I was hoping to get Messiah, but I got Lily. They say it's trash. She's trash, but personally for me, I found how broken she gets with Rimocha. Yeah, sure. It is what it is. Hang on. Anyways,
highly unit dependent, resources
this is actually very true, guys. Very, very true. You really need a specific character, a specific combo. And if you have Rimocha, you pretty much can clear. You can actually do Doge Doge very easily. You just need Rimocha and Lily together. You're really good. And you also really just need Rimocha and Lily, and at the same time, you also need another CC characters and a healer, and you're good to go. It's up to you which one you would replace with one more character itself. It's up to you. Maybe Claws. I highly recommend Claws because they got the characters full support but no DPS.
are incredibly scarce, the story gameplay isn't engaging, and it takes you forever to even start farming gear for PvP, in which
Oh, by the way, I'm gonna remind you back again on how I got annihilated with what? I got annihilated with once again. Let me remind you. Oh, we're fucked. Oh, by the way, this is the first time I actually did the nightmare one, coming from the 3-star hard 3-star hard level 3. Oh, we're fucked.
目を大丈夫
And by the way, all of these are epic sets. Epic and unique sets. That's how insanely painful this is.
which case you're already behind everyone who swiped if you're free to play. And I haven't even spoken about the monetary advantages yet. There are so many low spender
Look at that.
packs to try and get you to spend, and if you do spend, the advantages you get over free to play players is absolutely
Look at that. Free temple for $1. Free temple for $5.
absolutely disgusting. From just having more SSRs to actually leveling them and progressing them further faster.
Yeah, look at that. They're so expensive, guys.
Etheria Restart is incredibly pay to win. As much
In fact, I was also very I myself was very surprised that they even add a $50 pack. Which is insanely expensive. Not gonna lie. $50 for a single unit. Even a 10 exclusive banner. Even a 10 star. I mean, sure, 10 star, but yeah, no, not 10 star, sorry. 10 extra affinity characters. The 3 times expensive. Basically, these 10 amounts, it's just that very expensive. And the fact is that it is just very expensive. That's basically 30 pulls in total. I mean, sure, 30 pulls in total. That's not a big deal.
as they don't, but I can't
But sooner or later, once you reach the end game, you realize on how much fuel, how much pulls that you're getting is much more or less compared from when you were starting the game.
good faith recommend this game to anyone
I don't recommend this game, at least for now.
because at the moment the progression systems are poorly developed, the gameplay doesn't feel that engaging unless you're in PvP, and even when you're there, it's so pay to win favored that you probably would be better off just finding another game to play. I would rather play League. I have 12 hours played in 10 play League. I hate that. Unions provide a way for you guys to support each other.
Oh, by the way, I was not able to get to the unions very quickly though. I got there very slow. I was not on the, even if I am qualified to enter the guild, but no one was hiring me because I was so weak. Sure, that's fine, but doesn't really matter for me at all.
Better than your parents did, but I'm gonna be honest, that's about it. Let me know if you
Personally, if you're not, I do not recommend you also playing this game if you are someone else who's starting, because you pretty much get yourself effed up for sure. Especially in PvP, especially for someone else who plays the game much more longer and doesn't even do PvP at all. Yeah. I really highly suggest that you play the game if you have, if you really want to play the game, sure, to kill yourself some time. But if you are someone else who has much more responsibilities and much more important things in life, then I do not suggest on playing this game. Because the reason why I do not suggest is because on how much it actually takes, on how much time this actually takes. Let me remind you that it took me like 8 hours, but I still haven't even spent a single. I haven't even wasted out, more than like all of my actual mental stabilizers in just a day. I mean, I was able to spend like a lot, but not that much. But I was able to spend a lot. That's because of the help of the levels. Because I was able to grind my level from 26 to level 36, 10 levels, because of that ×2. That ×2 event is actually a big deal. I really highly suggest for you to use your mental stabilizers if you're using on, like ×2 events. Honestly, I really just feel like this game is more like forced to me to do some dailies because I don't really have any games in my phone, so that's the reason I'm just fine playing Etheria Restart. But I don't do PvP at all because it just sucks for me. And I'm personally just doing some PvE because I rather get some much more. I want myself to be much more prepared rather than being so weak that I'm gonna get little to no rewards at all. But it is what it is. I think that was a pretty good video for Brax, and yeah, I think I should probably just make a highlight for this one. Yes, I will find. I will find the. Hang on, if I could find. No, I don't have anything. I don't have any quick. Any streaming for rates for stuff for 1 hour, rated channel, manage goals, stream together, clear chat history. Toggles with only followers. Oh, we don't have anything, so yeah, sure. That was a pretty good video for Brax. And yes, it is what it is. It's pretty good. Personally, I do agree in him, especially all the time. I do agree in most of the videos because I've been here for like 2 weeks. Yeah, I do agree. So yeah, that's pretty good. So actually, my next video would be actually my first. That was my actual interesting video. This time, I want to know about this legal mindset. Video about legal mindset. I mean, I was actually quite interesting on him on this video because I've been hearing this on my Twitter ever since. Because I'm the one. I am also a person that follows Tectone, by the way, on his YouTube channel, or even Asmongold. So I'm quite aware of this. And the reason why I know legal mindset is because of the Ninjas on these situation. Oh, it's Pepper. Hello. Hello. I can see you. I can see Pepper. Do you play games? Yes. What games do you play? I play games. Hang on. A lot. I made a website about like games and stuff. What do you mean?
Caseytron is attempting.
Sadly though, if you're going to make a website about like games and stuff, nah, I'll pass. I really do not suggest. I really am not a person to suggest on that because I already do. Yeah, if you ask me, just post on Steam. That might be a much more nicer
Attempting a baked defense in the lawsuit involving copyright infringement, which has been filed by Ethan Klein of H3H3. So we're going to get into that today and why that will absolutely not work, no matter how high she was, and explain a little bit about copyright law. Of course, this is a legal mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. I'm Andrew Esquire, American attorney living in Asia. This is a fast facts premiere, a quick and
you don't need to buy anything. Just look at if it's fine. Of course, you don't need. You don't need. Well, if you're asking me on, if you're asking someone else, if you're someone who's create, you should actually. I don't really. I really first need to search a bit of information about what you're saying. The fact is, I do not go to websites that are quite suspicious. You know, you are a bit making yourself a bit suspicious because you made yourself a website that that makes games and stuff. You're making yourself much more vulnerable. I'm not someone because I honestly also like to do those stuff, but there are other ways on how to do stuff. If you really want to make games, honestly, about games and stuff, or make games, I highly do suggest you just use Unreal Engine, Unity, or even Godot. But if you want to do commentary, why don't you just join with PC Gamers or something else? Yeah. I'm just only staying here some, you know. It's just about games and checklists for Pokemon Go and like information. But what's the website? You gotta first give me the not links. You have to name the website. It's not I don't click links here. Link, making links is not really the ideal.
dirty version to get out to you with the latest news. And of course, I am still on vacation. I'm in a different location. This time there's no mosquito net or ghost, if you want to say, over the bed. This time we just have a nice bathroom door. But anyways, I'm still wanting to talk to you about this because this is something absolutely crazy. And sometimes when I see things that are really, really ridiculous, when I see things that are just legally, they blow my mind. How someone can do this and just sabotage themselves in such idiocy. I have to cover it. And once again, I don't have a dog in this fight in terms of the parties. I don't care for Ethan
Same, just me myself, just also reacting because it looks like gonna be a cinema, honestly.
Klein or the Hassan Orbiters. I'm focused on the objective law and especially educating people on the objective law involved in this case. So
Especially this might be much more helpful to me, by the way. This is the reason why I kind of really want to watch this also because I heard about like copyright, how it really works. So maybe I might help myself in the future, especially with YouTube because we already know that the copyright stuff. Yeah.
first of all, let's get to Casey Tron's baked defense. Now, this is something that she came up with after she deleted, and that's a very important point. It appears she has deleted her past videos. So here she goes.
Because they don't want to attempt, they don't want to use that that as a evidence in order. They don't really want to use that as an evidence. Because if you're the opposing, if you're, for instance, as a player, you're basically showing yourself a weakness, though. If you're a player pretty much and you're fighting a boss or even another players, you pretty much want to find the player's weakness or the entity's weakness themselves in order for you to pretty much strike it as much as possible, weaken them, and win the game. In this case, the VODs or the videos herself by Casey Tron, from what I understand, that she deleted the VOD because these VODs are basically the real evidences in order for the lawsuit of Ethan or the lawyers themselves to use against her, because it's proven as evidence. And of course, if you're a defendant, you don't really want to do that. You don't want your opponent, which is, of course, in this case, for instance, if I'm Casey Tron or something like that, you don't want for Ethan Klein or his lawyers to basically pretty much just, to show the evidence. So I'll just delete the video so that, so that I don't, so you can use that evidence against me. But the problem is, of course, this is already evidence because it was spread throughout the internet.
Goes with an explanation that she is trying to give after it appears she has deleted her reaction video to the Ethan Klein content nuke.
Just because I didn't react to his stupid video, he had to make up that I did and put a video of me smoking weed over his stupid video to get attention.
Smoking weed is not a great idea. Kids or people, I suggest do not smoke weed, is because smoking weed is gonna, give you a very bad health, and it's gonna cause you some lung cancer, or even, make yourself you're making your life much shorter.
I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck about your video. Like, I don't know. I don't recall reacting to it. I don't believe that I reacted.
If you're someone else who's reacting to the video, sure. I'm not the person that watches your content, but okay, that's fine. But personally, if you're just smoking weed and just showing the video to your viewers and not even just reacting or giving opinions or giving something facts like how can you relate or something like that, well, that's not transformative, and it's like it's considered as copyright because, and then, on the other side, I think Demims said like, don't watch this, just watch mine. You're basically discrediting the original. You're discrediting the original owner of that video. As always, in order for you to have a fair use, and of course, if you really want to monetize, is the fact that the first thing you need to do is to credit the original owner, because he or she, as an owner, made the effort for that video. This is very logical. Of course, you gotta give respect to the original creator of that video.
To it.
Yeah.
I do not remember. I don't know. I may have been under the influence, but I do not recall reacting to it.
So that's once again. Let's just play the important point here.
Like, I don't know. I don't recall reacting.
I still recall that Ethan Nuke. Hang on, let me find the Ethan Nuke. Let me see the Ethan Nuke. Ethan lawsuit, where is it at? I did actually want to react to also to the WestJet, but yeah. I think WestJet right here. Hang on, but before we do the WestJet, I also, if I'm gonna make myself a video with this one, I have to credit these people first because it's very important too. Personally, it's just basically a good way how to react. Honestly, it's just best way on how to react. I don't know where exactly. Yeah, it's on Asmongold's video, but you already know. But I can just link it up.
reacting to it.
So whether or not you recall reacting to it, being the defense here, saying, I don't recall, I don't know, I may have been under the influence, I may have been baked, I may have been high. Does that work? Well, of course, I've got a nice PowerPoint to explain to you guys that, because of course that's what I do here, Legal Mindset. We educate and we entertain.
By the way, on the actual contrary, I'm gonna also react to WestJet's video.
So we're going to get into copyright law, and can she raise that as a defense? Well, it turns out absolutely not in this case. So copyright focuses on the act of copying and distributing work. So the focus with copyright is, did she copy or distribute work without permission, without consent, without being authorized to do so? And copyright is strict liability, which means mental state is irrelevant. You can do it, you can do it in any mental state, and it doesn't matter. It's strict liability. Did you or did you not do it? So that's one thing. Now, when it comes to damages, like once you've been found liable for this, yes, then there could be a certain amount of maliciousness that factors in there. And certainly the judge might consider that when looking at the damages portion. However, for whether or not you did it, that's strict liability. Hey, did you do it or did you not do it? You did it. Whether or not you were high and did it, or drunk and did it, or forgot that you did it because you were too tired, whatever else, that is not an excuse. And
Honestly, that's not really the excuse, honestly. Smoking weed, no. Then encouraging your viewers not to actually subscribe to this. You created the video. That's doesn't make sense.
once again, it seems like they are confusing copyright, which is civil in nature, with criminal law in general. Criminal law in general tends to look more at mental state, although there are crimes that don't involve mental state. And this comes up because we see the defenders bringing up entrapment, something I have thoroughly debunked already on this channel. Entrapment, something that only applies in the criminal context to police, law enforcement. It absolutely has no.
So entrapment is only used for police. Get it?
Relevance here. Same thing with I was high, intoxication, forgetting. It's not a defense, and she can't raise that and say, hey, I didn't know I was high. But beyond that, she may be getting herself in huge trouble with spoliation of evidence. That's something, maybe it's a new word for you guys, but spoliation of evidence is intentional or negligent, which means you're doing it willfully or you're doing it recklessly without thinking. It's destruction, alteration, or hiding of any evidence that is relevant to a legal proceeding.
And in this case, hiding of evidence that is relevant to legal proceeding. Of course, as I said, the evidence itself, they kind of remove the evidence. They're trying to prove evidence. This is going to be a big, massive deal.
Once a person knows that a lawsuit has been filed, they know there's something pending against them, there is a duty attached, a duty engages to preserve the evidence and not destroy it, alter it, or hide it.
Ooh, that's the big issue. Yikes.
And
basically, you already got yourself guilty, pretty much.
If you mess up with this, if you're found guilty of evidence spoliation of evidence, there can be sanctions, there can be fines, they can have your court pleading struck, or you could have a default judgment. So Casey Tron, in picking up this defense, it appears has not only not had a defense, because this defense is not going to work, but beyond that, she may have gotten herself in trouble by potential evidence spoliation, by essentially deleting the evidence.
So evidence spoliation, pretty much in my understanding, is basically the deletion of the evidence itself. So now that's a big deal. Remember always to use the power of the Internet Archives.
Maybe gone out and said, oh no, I'm going to try to hide this video. I'm going to try to private this video. I'm going to try to get rid of this video. Now you've dug yourself in deeper, Casey Tron. And this is the point where people need to, during lawsuits, shut up and talk to their lawyer. And the problem with most content creators is they don't know how to shut up. They don't know how to just be quiet, not talk, stay off the internet, stop responding, and just let your lawyer take care of it. And that
Because they have large egos. Just remember, guys, as a YouTuber or having a much bigger subs or having a much bigger, um, much bigger influence makes your ego much large. I really do. I really want to have that similar ego when I kind of start. For instance, if I'm on a future like myself, I really want to have a much the similar ego that I have as when I started. Where not I'm not gonna brag or anything about that, but yeah, it's the fact is I really rather want to fact check myself to check always if your actions are good or right or something like that. You're pretty much okay. It is okay.
That applies for a lot of the folks in this, which are continuing to comment, post on social media, rant in their chats about this lawsuit, when really they should be shutting up. They should be real quiet and saying, hey, look, can I talk to my lawyer? Can I get out of this? Because there is potential for them to fight this. There are arguments they can make. However, their lawyers are going to be put on the back foot the more they do things like this, the more Casey Tron, Denims, and Frogan decide to run their mouths and talk about this and make up stuff and make comments on this.
Basically, this having the evidence spoilation makes Ethan much more the winner in this case. Yeah. The Orbiters themselves already lost. 100%. Everybody, a lot of people know this, except for of course their group.
The more it's going to put them on the back foot. But content creators cannot help themselves. They feel they have to say something on social media. They have to get on their platforms. And I would not be surprised.
Oh, I'm honestly, if I myself will be, I will be actually be shocked if this actually, happens though. Or maybe not. I'm not really shocked at all, but already heard it that in this evidence, there is a possibility that they will be perma-banned on every social platforms such as Twitter. Not really Twitter, maybe Twitter. Yeah, sure. Let's include Twitter. That's probably the best thing.
If others have issues with this, another area where there may be issues is involving the Reddit thread, right? The H3 Snark Reddit thread. As another lawyer mentioned, they may be subject to discovery insofar as they might have been working with Denims, Frogan, Casey Tron, and there may have been communications between them. If there are, that could be subject to discovery, which means you have to turn over all emails, text messages, etc. And if they've been deleting messages, if they've been going in and looking at their contacts between Reddit and between these content creators, and they've been deleting, hiding, or otherwise trying to maneuver them or change them, that could also bring penalties down on them as well. And I think a lot of the people
They kind of double down themselves. Wow. They really did.
involved in this just don't know anything about the legal process. They have not engaged an attorney, and they're absolutely courting for disaster. However, we're going to have to see how this plays out. I am going to be going through a full readout of the actual complaints later this week. We'll probably do it over the weekend once I get back from vacation, but I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about this case so far, and let me know what you think, who's going to come out on top, what's going to happen, and
It's already obvious that Ethan Klein. Imagine that. I will be much more shocked if Ethan Klein lost the battle, because it's already clearly evidence that they already lost. The Asan Arbiters already lost. I'm pretty sure that Twitch is gonna force them to get banned. I'm certainly sure about that. But yeah,
we'll catch you.
thanks Legal Mindset for the information. How So yeah, subscribe. Also to him, subscribe to me too. Don't forget. I also just do reaction every Wednesday. So yeah. Peace out. Again. So I think I should probably just. Ooh. Now then, the Ethan lawsuit probably are just reaction. Maybe I should actually try to to. Ooh. Yeah, this one. I want to react with this one. For now, let's be reacting to this one because everything was just Gacha games, Ethan lawsuits, because these are the things that kind of actually pop out in my internet. But this time, I am very interested on what's going on because I was also aware of this because of Twitter themselves, because this is also related to the actual AI strike themselves. The VA strikes, which is of course the AI. let's see. My hero, hey. Okay, hello.
In, let's take a look at what this tweet says. At Hero Hey, remember how Sean Chiplock, that being the VA for Delusion Genshin, said he's going to continue withholding work in Toyoverse? Yeah, guess we have another hypocrite on our hands. I was like already in my mind imagining comments there. That's why I messed up my words. I was imagining comments.
What did you do?
For saying Deluge, even though I know it's Deluke. But yeah, anyways, let's take a look at what Sean Chiplock said, because I do remember this, yes. But let's get the exact post from his Blue Sky back on June 12th, just a week ago, basically, give or take some change. Days being the change, of course. Just getting this out of the way, says Sean Chiplock, so folks can share when people inevitably start asking. No, the SAG-AFTRA strike ending does not mean that the hashtag Genshin cast strike is also over. Genshin is non-union, and SAG's contracts have no say on it.
I don't really understand what the contract is. I think it's related to AI protection, but I know that Genshin or China themselves, basically Genshin or Hoyoverse themselves has a contract that they don't allow you to use the AI voice act. Anything AI, pretty much. They don't want to use AI in their game, pretty much. You know, the voice actors. I don't know what's the conflict here. On my logical reasoning, on the logical sense here, it's really confusing. So someone says that their contract is not the contract itself is just AI protection, while Genshin's contract also, or Hoyover's contract, doesn't have an AI protection. It also does not, AI is prohibited pretty much. So if I'm really confused here. I really am confused in the on the Genshin, the VA strike. Huh. What's the really difference between non-union and union? Hang on. Or maybe not. I'll just proceed. I don't have any information, but maybe I could actually search while after the aftermath of this. But
cast strike is an independent collective work refusal. See this thread for more info. Genshin cast members independently chose to join the effort to ask for better protections on the project, and it is up to M independently if they want to return without them. What the frick? Why does he capitalize independently like that? It just makes it like look funny. As a non-union project, Genshin does not get the SAG agreement benefits. So yeah, obviously it's two separate things. We've discussed that plenty of times in the past. But it's still a reasonable concern, or excuse me, a reasonable inquiry, if you will, that people would wonder if the collective work refusal will continue to go on, considering that they were attempting to leech the momentum from the official strike since the inception of the collective work refusal, and without the official strike still going on, people were wondering like, well, yeah, it's different, but maybe they'll try and wrap that up too. Sure enough, a lot of the VAs are trying to wrap it up, which other speculation would point to them just being scared of getting recast, as we've recently seen happen to Kaylee Mills and Karina Boetker. And it could be like a combination of both, with the official strike being done and with Hoyoverse starting to recast more and more people. A number of the VAs partaking in the unofficial collective work refusal against Hoyoverse may be thinking like, yeah, I think I need to get back to work, and I'm going to try and pretend like I always wanted to get back to work, and I was totally not trying to manipulate people into supporting this strike, aka Hu Tao VA. For anyone who missed the video from the other day, I am referring to this tweet from Hu Tao's VA Brianna, who said, "Guess the cat's out of the bag. I'm so happy to be back as Hu Tao, my precious ghosty girl. I love and missed her so much and couldn't be happier to be back," which directly conflicted with what she had previously said back in March. She responded to John Pat Node's statement on getting replaced by Jacob Takanashi as Kenichi, saying, "Thank you for standing strong and holding the line with us. You're a real one." And then going on to say, "Clears throat. Some of us shake my freaking head," throwing shade at Jacob Takanashi for being what these people would refer to as a scab. And so it's just very disingenuous to me, as I pointed out before, that here she's talking about the real ones being the people holding the line and refusing to work, but now she's over here acting like she's always wanted to get back to work, and she's so...
They're forced to do so. I'm really confused with the VA problems here, because I'm not really paying attention that much on the voice actor. But I don't know, guys. I don't know. I just don't really know, guys. I kid you not. And the thing is, from what I know, is that the reason why they're doing this is because they are most likely forcing themselves back in because AI, as I said, is inevitable. Come on, why does we do have to go back again? AI is always inevitable. Plus, money. Yeah, for survival, yes. Um,
Excited to get back to work, guys. It's really important to remember that they were all saying they wouldn't go back to work unless Hoyoverse signed the agreement. Well, Hoyoverse has not signed the agreement. On Hoyoverse's end, they literally nothing changed. These people did not get what they were demanding from Hoyoverse. So if she was serious before about it being so important to strike,
wait, what exactly are they serious for? What's their agenda there? Okay, so yeah, Grox actually finally summarized the entire thing. So I wanted the summary of this. So pros and cons summary. So union VA employees, collective bargaining for better wages and benefits, makes sense. Stronger job protections. Yeah, the AI itself. This is pretty much the AI. Advocacy for safety and systematic change. Hang on. I don't really know the advocacy. This is more like a, if we're talking about advocacy, this is more like the agenda too. Or on their agenda, and legal for support for grievances. The cons usually can be costly. Yeah, makes sense. The reason why they don't want, I think the reason why, I'm not really sure the reason behind this because I have no knowledge about this, and I'm just reacting on, making some critical assumptions too. Is the fact that first of all, the reason why there's VA strikes is because of this, the stronger job protections, which makes sense. Of course, as a Hoyoverse, if you're gonna be buying something like the SAG union, the SAG, the voice, the VAs, it can be actually very costly though. It's actually gonna be costly because they're from a company because they have the power of better wages and benefits. Honestly, if you're a VA, you should just this is just your hobby, so it's really just fine on being a non VA too. But I'm not really an expert on this. This is just me. I'm assuming. I'm just assuming pretty much. And then if you're pressured to join, ooh, that's bad because I think from what I heard, they say that they if you're a non-union VA, you are going to spend. I think I'm not sure if the voice actor is going to be the one to spend. I don't know. Yes, I just don't know. But if you are a non-union, of course you have the ability to be flexible in negotiations. This is actually much more niceable, honestly. And of course, you are unaffected to union targets policies. So basically, you have the freedom to do so. If you're a non-union, you're much more freedom. But of course, the thing is, if you are a non-union, of course, you're gonna have at least less bargaining, which is of course the negotiations, part of the negotiations, and of course, you are much more easily replaced by AI. And of course, I don't really know what's the limited dispute. But yeah, makes sense. Yeah, but for the problems with the VAs, it's not really the VAs that has a problem. I think the VAs has their problem, but I think the problem here, what really happens with the Genshin VAs, is the fact that they actually hate YouTubers. Yeah, and actually, they actually immediately sabotage the entire thing. They really did. Imagine. I think they actually sabotaged the. I think I no not really. I think they did sabotage the entire strike. The purpose of the strike. They're even more toxic to their actual player base that supported them before. You're basically like if you're a VA, you're fighting back against your own your own fans. Really bad.
and she's not going to go back to work until they sign something, it wouldn't line up with the way she's behaving now. It comes off this.
Because they're forced. That's the reason why. Because sooner or later, these companies will actually, as I said before, if you're a computer engineer, especially I'm a computer engineer, I do make this kind of AI stuff, but if you are going to the AI path stuff, of course. But of course, you have the ability to create voices. You can copy voices at any time, at any moment. That's the problem. With AI, it's going to be inevitable too. I just don't know when. If you're going to be supporting, artists, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. because voice can also be replaced because you can actually even mimic some very popular influence people like Donald Trump. You can even copy their voice in AI. I kid you not, you can do that. Hell no. So if you're telling me that I still really imagine the structure of an AI, especially for voice acting, is that they only need a sample of your voice and they have the ability to pretty much copy the entire thing. They can copy the voice itself, the entire voice, which is, oh god, it's a bit shocking, guys. But that's fine. But yeah, that's how far the technology goes. It just literally happened. When was ChatGPT happen, or even those voice, those AI started? I think the AI started in 2022. I think mid 2022. That started the entire thing, and they just improved the AI very fast. And we really all know that technology improves at a very rapid pace. More like accelerated pace too. Accelerated pace. Sooner or later, if I kid you not, if we're talking about like energy system, sooner or later there's gonna be nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion. And I kid you not, if nuclear fusion exists, holy shit, it's gonna be insanely good for the entire electricity. Because of course, very expensive at first, but it has its own benefits too in the long run. You have the ability to break even the amount of cost and the amount of this, you can actually break even the amount of cost, especially if your company, if I don't know, basically, maybe I'm really bad, sorry guys, I'm really bad at explaining, but you can actually just break even the entire thing and we're good. I mean, break even is good too, let's be real. Break even. And of course, if that technology reach, of course, this is also similar to AI. This is most likely going to be a much more forced, all thanks to the people outside, of course, who knows the nature of, who actually read or even read the entire situation with, VA strikes. Yeah.
Disingenuous to me, in my opinion. Furthermore, and you're welcome to agree or disagree, of course, but furthermore, as we saw a moment ago, Sean Shiplock and some of the other VAs who work on Genshin are still refusing the work, saying that the strike, the collective work refusal, is still continuing. But Brianna was getting upset at Jacob Takanashi and others, potentially, for...
Because Jacob Takanashi, I think, is a non-union. Yeah, I believe he is in Japan. He only said that, hey guys, I am finally becoming Kanichi. All thanks to I basically he has to do something, but it doesn't make it's not really that harmful. And he actually referred back to the old VA. I forgot the old VA of Kanichi from what I heard, and then all these voice actors suddenly attack him for no reason. The second part I still recall about the Ventis VA. I think Ventis VA shows the real nature. This is where they start to show their real nature too. For real. You can get blacklisted, I think.
not standing in solidarity with the strike, saying that they're not real ones, basically. And saying, like, shake my effing head at them, at Jacob.
Let me speed up.
But hey, Brianna, some of your fellow VAs that you were striking with still want the strike to continue, but now you're going back to work doing the exact same thing you were getting mad at Jake Takanashi for months ago. And it sucks because I do think Brianna does good work, and I think Hu Tao is an awesome character. Not that Brianna is Hu Tao, but, you know, I'm saying she does a good job in her role of voicing Hu Tao. But like so many of the English VAs, even if a number of them do actually do good work, so many of them, far too many, are extremely unprofessional, and calling them unprofessional is by far the nicest way I could put it. There are probably a lot of other words you could use that would be more fitting than simply saying unprofessional, but I'll just leave it at that. So returning to the main, I guess like the main gay for today's news, that would be Sean Chiplock, as he is in the news today. So let's get back to all that stuff. We left off on this tweet from Enthusiasm that once again said, remember how Sean Chiplock said he's going to continue withholding work in Swiverse? Yeah, I guess we have another hypocrite on our hands. And
because you are forced to do work. Because sooner or later, these contracts, you know, these sort of contracts or these companies that negotiate with the voice actors, if the voice actor doesn't want to continue, they will always, as I said, they were always going to find others. And remember, guys, as I said before, competition. In this case, if you have competition to other, you know, does VAs, you know, other company that does also voice acting, yeah, you're gonna lose the opportunity. Competition is the worst part. this is the first example in this case on what I said, that if you are working in the government and you are an AI developer, are you going to sell it to the government? I would say yes, because this is more of as an opportunity. And this, of course, we already know sooner or later these AI is going to be very used. And we already know in China, by the way, in China, I think they're using that surveillance, all the time. Although it's in ethical perspective, of course, it's going to be feeling like you're being watched all the time. Not really great. Honestly, it's not really the ideal for the AI, honestly. But strict rules. We don't really, strict. It's just very strict. But yeah, it was what it is. But personally, for me, if you are on the but if for instance in this case, if you are, like Stag Afra, which their path says no. If I would say as a government, if I would sell, I will not sell. Basically, if you're saying that I would not sell, this is basically the situation with the Stag Afra from what I assume. And of course, sooner or later, other voice actors are gonna be sooner or later, companies or game companies that need voice would actually just go other companies, because they might also have a much better offer and much better negotiations. I mean, that's the case, guys. Competition, because they're finding the alternative besides SAG-AFTRA. Competition.
And linking me to this tweet, so I'll take a look at this. Star Rail Universe saying Zephyro. I don't play Star Rail, sorry for the mispronunciations. I play Genshin, I still get half those names wrong, so of course it's going to be even worse for me in other Hoyo games, but Zephyro, Diluc, the same English face, Sean Chiplock. And so in the comments, people are calling this out, for example, right at the top here. Apparently it has a different contract, however, that also shows he's a hypocrite since Genshin is not okay, yet Honkai Star Rail is. Keep in mind, several VAs who are in Honkai Star Rail are still muted on this, and Genshin, why was Sean given a special contract while the others weren't? That's assuming he even was really, which I don't think we know for sure, because I doubt he's going to post a contract. And even if he did, we would then need to see like other contracts to compare to know if it's abnormal or not. But I digress. Let's read a few more of these. Didn't Hoyoverse change Diluc's VA? How was he on Honkai Star Rail? I don't think they ever did, right? I'm assuming this comment's saying that they didn't do that. Currently, Diluc has not been recast and is still mute. Only Kinich, Paimon, and Ching have had their voice exchanged. Yeah. Continuing. Dude is so afraid of Hoyoverse using his voice for AI that he went out and agreed to.
Yeah, this is factual. Look at this. That is factual, guys. That is factual.
Work on another one of their games where his audio will end up with Hoyoverse anyways. It's actually insane how disrespectful these people are to both foreign projects and their own fans. And then we got this one. This one has by far the most likes. Let's take a look at what this one says. Quote, I don't want Hoyo to steal my voice. Dubbing studio having AI protection isn't enough. I need Hoyo to sign it because the recording will go to them anyways, on quote. Proceed to accept a role in another Hoyo game anyways.
And the reason why they accept it because they are forced to do so.
This reminds me, by the way, the tweet I was tagged to did have a second part to it, which is bringing up a point similar to some of the ones we just read. So let me go back. Hopefully, yeah, it should be right here. The second part said, oh, and he wouldn't be able to say things is somehow different for Honkai Star Rail compared to Genshin either, because as you can see in this video here, another striking VA, a Naris Q, should have voiced a character. That character, by the way, is Fei Xiao, and says, but she isn't, and that character is silent. And if we go to that link, we're taken to this video that's just posted about 16 hours ago, titled Myriad Celestia Trailer, Fables About the Stars Part 2 for Honkai Star Rail. It's an official video from Star Rail. And it does seem like Fei Xiao is not voiced. I don't know for sure, because one, as mentioned, I don't play Star Rail. I don't know for sure if this is Fei Xiao. I'm pretty sure it is, but like, I don't know. I don't know, like, beyond a shadow of a doubt, but I'm pretty sure it's Fei Xiao. The second thing is,
It's
I'm
Fei
not sure
Xiao.
there's supposed to be a voice in this part anyways, but like, let's take a look briefly at this.
Warm author's remains to kill a god. We just need to temper the hunt's arrowheads with ruins golden blood.
Okay, so there's like a narrator. I'm assuming that's not Fei Xiao. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure who's voicing that there and what character that is. But keep in mind that was like there and what character.
With ruins golden blood.
That's pretty much Monarch or Mandalay, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so there's like a narrator. I'm assuming that's not Fei Xiao. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure who's voicing that there and what character that is. But keep
That's
in mind,
Mandalay.
yeah, nothing. Well, let's pause, just to be sure we're on the same page. This is now the scene with Fei Xiao, and there's no voice going on. Again, this could be intentional. There's not supposed to be a voice here, but it does seem a bit jarring because, like, throughout the entire thing so far, there was that other voice that you just heard that was, like, narrating things. For example, we skip, like, randomly back here.
Whether your words are trustworthy.
Oh, that's someone else, but still a voice.
Fine. As we always say on the Xianzhou. See.
And there's the narrating voice, right? Then, yeah, we go to that Fei Xiao scene once again, which was right about here. There's just nothing.
Yeah, that's supposed to be. That's supposed to be moving. That's supposed to be voiced.
So yeah, and then a voice right after that. So it does seem presumably like they intended for this part to be voiced. If there's like a Japanese or CN version, we could take a look and compare that and see if there's a voice there, just to be sure. But just based off this alone, it does seem like Fei Xiao is still on voice, and there should have been a voice here, but there's not because refusing to work or something. This was a very odd situation with the Naris and Fei Xiao because about 9 months ago, people noticed that this is my recollection of what happened. About 9 months ago, people noticed that Fei Xiao was on voice, and I think Inaris even removed Fei Xiao from her bio on Twitter or something like that happened. So people began to post on Reddit and stuff like, hey, did Fei Xiao get fired? And then people were talking about like, well, there's a strike going on right now. Maybe it's related to that. Maybe Fei Xiao, or excuse me, maybe Inaris was a part of the strike and then got fired. And then like at some point, Inaris protected and privated her whole account on Twitter, so that made people even more confused about what was going on. And then
What?
Inaris returns. I don't think she put Fei Xiao back in her bio on Twitter though, but it is on Blue Sky. But Fei Xiao does seem to still be unvoiced. So it's a very weird situation, like I mentioned. But
Really
what's now
weird.
Even weirder is that, according to my recollection, 9 months ago, Hoyoverse said that Fei Xiao was on voice because of scheduling issues or like scheduling conflict with the VA, that being Inaris. Now, the reason this is particularly interesting 9 months later, at this point in time, right now, is because according to Kaylee Mills, Hoyoverse said that they were terminating her because of scheduling conflicts, which is nearly identical, if not
What?
exactly identical, to what Hoyoverse apparently said about Inaris. But I don't think we have confirmation that Inaris is not working as Fei Xiao. It seems like she still is. So, you know, she still technically has the role, even though she's refusing to work. I don't think Hoyo's recasted Fei Xiao. So again, the whole situation is really weird. Make of all that what you will. But that does give some more context onto this.
But the reason why I think the reason why Hoyoverse has casted, recasted some of the VAs is actually because, first of all, the reason why they casted Kitching's VA and Pyron's VA is because those two are very, they disrespect the fans. I don't know what's the other one, the original Kinich user, the Kinich voice, the Kinich VA. I don't know what's the situation, the reason why it got replaced. I don't really know. But but we already know that two of the VAs from like Karina Boger and Kayla Millis, I think. Yeah, those two are pretty much just those two pretty much disrespect the community itself. That we are basically disrespecting their fans or even YouTubers, pretty much.
This scene and the involvement of Inaris and Fei Xiao and all that stuff. And then going back to what people said, if indeed Inaris is refusing to work as Fei Xiao and is still Fei Xiao, then it is even more so interesting that Sean Chiplock is now voicing this upcoming character in Honkai Star Rail. I'm assuming the character's up and coming and not pre-existing. That's why it's getting an announcement. But again, I don't play Star Rail, so I'm not 100% sure what the context to that is. I just know that this announcement about Sean Chiplock has come up, and a lot of people are calling him a hypocrite over it. Okay, so like I mentioned, I want to take a look at the JP version.
Because they're
Here, you can see
forced.
There's a voice there. This is now a JP version of the same trailer, and take a look.
聖書の軍が撤退しています。罠でしょうか。
もしくはもっと重要な命令があるのか。
Yep, that was not voiced.
I'm assuming the second voice there was Fei Xiao's Japanese VA, meaning, yeah, it does seem like Fei Xiao is supposed to be voiced in the English version as well, but presumably Inaris is still Fei Xiao and is still withholding work, and that's why in the English version there was no voice for Fei Xiao. The final piece of context here regarding Inaris' involvement with the strike overall, or like the work refusal overall, would be the tweet she made back on March 26th.
Yep, this is the one that I recall.
That read, hey Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone EN, Zenless Zone 0 yen. We English VAs would love to get back to work. I know the fans miss hearing their favorite Karas, and we miss voicing them. Please negotiate with SAG after and sign the interim agreement to guarantee air protections for us. To my recollection, that tweet got community noted with people pointing out how it's about a lot more than air protections, and these people are essentially misleading all of us, the stuff that we talked about before, of course. But SAG AFTRA responded to Inaris, quote tweeting her specifically, saying what Inaris Q said. Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone 0 yen will make it easy for you. Oh yeah, easy for you. Here's a link to our interactive video game media agreements. Let's talk soon. This also getting community noted, and Inaris, not just deleting.
This is actually agreement that has severe limitation on how MiHoYo can work with non-view. Yeah, this is the one that I saw before. Holy
her tweet,
crap.
but also I believe on tagging herself from SAG's tweet as well.
I wonder what happened to the person that posted that.
And I know I've brought this same thing up multiple times in the past, and that's because one, it is maybe the best example we have of SAG AFTRA being involved with like the work refusal, even though it's unofficial or whatever. In particular, because some VAs have said that SAG AFTRA is not involved in like the work refusal at all, but clearly there is some level of involvement. I think it's likely they're probably just trying to act as some sort of mediator for the agreement, but I digress. It still is involvement on some level. And two, because the whole thing with Inaris is like attempting to like gaslight people and get Hoyo to sign this agreement, only for her to like end up deleting her take and untagging herself. I mean, that's just peak comedy right there. It's hilarious. And so that takes us back to this news about Sean Chiplock being cast as Zephyro in Star Rail. We will read just a few more responses from people here at the top, and then hop over to Blue Sky once again, because Sean Chiplock has kind of responded to this stuff, not like the people calling him out more. For example, right here. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad to hear him. He's got a great voice, and it's always a pleasure to hear it, in my opinion.
However,
after him saying, along with Kaylee, saying they're still striking Hoyo on BS, Blue Sky.
Blue Sky.
This just feels kind of hypocritical. And the next one saying maybe he realizes that Hoyo is done with their games, and it's either you come back or you're done. That's it.
Yep, they're forced. Makes
Come
sense.
back or you're done. Isn't he on strike? Says the next one, and the one right below that saying, the day that Sean Chiplock stops getting hold up. The day that Sean Chiplock stops getting roles is the day the voice acting industry will be saved. And then this one saying, geez, people are being jerks. Why am I not surprised? Where's the positive comments? Oh wait, there aren't any of them.
If you can write a recast, of course, that will be fine. Just be mindful that companies, they really do not want to spend that much on the output while giving the same presentation. It's basically kind of like, for instance, like, um if for instance like we if you really know the migration issue with the actual in the US, the illegal immigrants, the people or the business owners really just want to hire the the immigrants because they can pay them less and they could much more operate their stores much better, lesser. That's how they kind of like it though.
Oh boy, everyone in the comments
By the way, I'm assuming, okay.
positive. Wait, so he will continue to strike Genshin but not Honkai Star Rail? Last time, remember, everyone who strikes in Genshin also strikes in Honkai Star Rail. Yeah, you can see, like, I'm not going to read any more of these, but you can see that they go on and on. Basically, almost every response is mocking him. This one says, get him out of here, gets 1,300 likes with this gif. Yeah, you clearly get the picture. Now, once again, hopping over to Blue Sky, aka BS, I guess. Sean Chiplock responds to the Star Rail universe saying Zephyro, with Sean's response being simply a smiley face, as we know, has been cast as Zephyro for Star Rail. Now, here's where we get Sean's response of sorts. As this user says, not to be that annoying guy that makes Star Rail so different from Genshin voice acting wise, that means you're voicing for it, but not Genshin. Sean Chiplock says, different contract. But things get even more interesting when we scroll down to the bottom of the page because I noticed this. A little button here that says show hidden replies. Now, I myself am not a Blue Sky user, so I wanted to be sure what this really meant. Because, yeah, to me, it looks like he's hiding the freaking thing, maybe. But maybe hidden replies is, like, automatically done by Blue Sky, and it's not something Sean Chiplock did, to be fair. So I looked up, Blue Sky, what are hidden replies? And assuming this is correct, it reads, on Blue Sky, hidden replies are comments on a post that have been removed from the main view by the original poster.
So that means he removed.
That's true. Then, yeah, Sean Chiplock hid the response that we're about to take a look at right now. So, hopping back over to Blue Sky once again, this post by Sean Chiplock, at the very bottom, we can see show hidden replies, and let's click it. It reads,
I don't know.
Doesn't this imply the studio is the issue, not Hoyo? And this is such a weird comment to hide. It's not like an NSFW bot trying to scam people. It's not like some scam link or anything like that. Person asks a reasonable question. I don't know, but doesn't this imply the studio is the issue, not Hoyo? Hidden. Making this all even stranger is when Sean Chiplock said this. First, the context. User Lego Bionicle fan said, "So, what are you planning to do? Are you coming back to voicing Genshin anytime soon?"
I'm ready.
In response to this post we read earlier about him wanting to continue the strike, but he responded to.
I'm ready to.
I am ready to return to work on it the very instant that I have protections written into my contract that prevent my voice from being modified by AI or used to train it. Lego Bionicle fan says, "Is the contract with Hoyo or the recording studio they use?" Sean Chiplock says, "I believe it's with the former through the latter, but even if I happen to be wrong on that, it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't have what I'm asking to be asked." Yeah, the thing is, you're not asking something to be asked. It's prevent my voice from being modified.
I am ready to return the work on it the very instance that I can have my protection written on my contract and prevent my voice from being modified by AI or used to train it. I kind of feel like this is actually a very, very red flag sooner or later. A bit of a gray hole for me personally. And as I said before, that the companies sooner or later will actually use AI voice for real. And as I said, technology just improves. It's insane. But the problem with AI, as I said, is just AI doesn't have really shows emotions. They could just pretty much copy what people can do. Especially, they really need first a data source before that because, sooner or later, just AI is just gonna copy the entire thing. Whether you like it or not, this is a situation that happened on the Ghibli Studio art. In fact, the Ghibli Studio actually was so mad on ChatGPT that they were actually very mad on ChatGPT because they actually, they could be easily be replaced. So this is actually also a similar thing to voice acting, which is actually very, very, very interesting. But the thing is, I actually come up in my mind that sooner or later these game companies will not even want to work with the with the SAG, if that's the case, because first of all, they have a lot of options too. Especially if you're a company or a buyer, of course, you have a lot of options to do so. Remember, especially if you're buying yourself a graphics card or even computer parts, your goal is to actually find either the best price to perform best price and great graphics cards or great computer parts for your build. And of course, different retails have different, prices. Of course, some parts are much more cheaper than the other stores. It's basically like this. So if I would pretty much, this is actual analogy. If in this case, if you're saying AI or you just use to train it, I would probably just assume this as more of a this is like, you know, if you're gonna be saying SAG itself, they're basically like stores, the store itself, while um while of course their competitor would be the other stores, because other stores themselves have much more better pricing with the same literal product. I mean, yeah. So the thing is that of course if you are a buyer, you don't really want to waste much more money. Of course, in this case, a much more expensive pay for the VAs, you can just rather pay it on for the non-VA. In this case, you're just gonna be spending on a much more cheaper with same product, but you know, much better offer, because if you're talking about money in this case, think of it as I really want to buy parts much more cheaper, because as much as possible when you're buying computer, you really want to find the cheapest in order to avoid a much more bigger loss. That's it. Less drawbacks, pretty much.
Modified by AI or used to train it. Lego Bionicle Fan says, is the contract with Hoyo or the recording studio they use? Sean Chiplock says, I believe it's with the former through the latter, but even if I happen to be wrong on that, it doesn't change the fact that it doesn't have what I'm asking to be added. Yeah, but the thing is, you're not just asking something to be added. You and a number of other VAs are literally trying to have some collective work refusal strike thing done against Hoyoverse. But then here, you're basically saying you're not even really sure who's responsible.
Let me see if I want to clarify this. Let me clarify myself, or let me double check if that's the thing. Yeah, they already do have AI protections. So does it make sense? I mean, logically, it's very confusing. Sure.
For the part of the contract you want in there not being in there. So it's like, guys, what are y'all even really doing here? This is not something new. For many months now, a lot of us have been criticizing the VAs because they can't even get their own story straight. This just be another example of how a lot of these people don't even seem to know what they're really like doing or saying, like what they're really talking about. And look, to be fair, on some level, it is understandable. If you sign a contract, you should know exactly what that contract entails. But to be fair, the first time you read it, even the first X number of times you read it, you might not fully understand it, and you want to come to a complete understanding of what that contract says, what your obligations are, and you may want to negotiate with the company or whatever to try and get something removed from the contract, or in this case, something added to the contract. So I can understand like being confused about this stuff. But these people specifically made this whole matter public. This is not something they were handling behind the scenes. It's not like they were individually trying to negotiate contracts and things in the contract for themselves, right? No, they've been very much trying to make this public matter, trying to get the public to support them, trying to get other actors as well to stand in solidarity with them. Otherwise, they call them scabs and harass them online, trying to say they're terrible people, all the sort of stuff that we've seen them do. So it's just a bad look altogether when they're operating in such a manner. And then they also, on top of that, don't seem to know what they're talking about. I will restate the point one time really quick. If this was a private matter and they don't know.
Just to remind you that it's always kind of that's their agenda. They want to be against AI, and of course, we already know that AI is going to be inevitable because some people or someone will do it sooner or later because they are forced to life. Because this, as I said, this is going to be an ethical and moral situation. And if you are having a moral and ethical situation, you will have to understand what's the actual consequences of every single action. Remember, as always, will always be consequences. If you're gonna be saying, if you're utilitarianism, yeah, of course, you really want to have a much more better results for everyone rather than the specific, rather than a fewer better results. Because of course, being utilitarianism, I really hate saying the word or saying the word as much as possible. As I said, hang on, you might really want to have a much more bigger benefits rather than utilitarianism is the moral philosophy that dedicates the best action and ones that maximize overall being, producing their greatest good for the greatest number of people. Yeah, as I said, this is basically it. Because here, in this case, the ones that will benefit would actually be either the future people, but not now, and of course the companies. And the ones who lose are pretty much the VAs in this case. If this is an AI VAs.
Being done privately, they're trying to come to a better understanding of what they're talking about and what's in the contract and how they can resolve these issues. Fine, fair enough, that's normal. But making this a public thing specifically and trying to use the public to pressure other actors and like turn people on each other, against each other, excuse me, by trying to make some sort of moral implication that if you're not standing with the strike, you're a bad person, and then these people can't even get their story straight and all that, it's just a terrible look. And that takes us back to where he hid this. Why hide this? Dude's literally just asking, I don't know, but doesn't this imply the studio is the issue, not Hoyo? And apparently Sean Chiplock is so over this conversation that he's just hiding.
Why is he hiding with this? But different Studio Rocket. But Genshin Formosa, he refuses without AI protection. The only viable situation is a student is signed, here with. Yeah, this is really true. This is a much very confusing part of the VA strike thing. In fact, as I said, Hoyoverse have AI protections, but um the problem here is that what the strike's purpose is pretty much the AI protection, as we already know that AI can sooner or replace anyone's jobs. The ones that can actually, the ones that are being hired, pretty much would be the people that actually, use much AI much better than uh actually, let me rephrase that. I still recall what Jensen Huang said actually, is that uh AI is not really the one that's gonna replace you. The ones are gonna replace you are the people who can use AI much better. So if you're saying that you're a developer, yeah, you're the person that makes the AI is the one who's replacing you. That's that. That's it.
Hiding people who are asking reasonable questions like this now. I don't even know what else to say about it. I guess that's really it. Really weird stuff. But hey, a situation that Sean being cast now in Honkai Star Rail, apparently he's okay with it for the reasons that we went over. But as you can see, by far the majority of the responses on this news back on Twitter are calling him out. That might not be the case here on Blue Sky, but on Blue Sky, there's literally 0 responses to this tweet anyways, or this post anyways, in comparison to the post about this news over on Twitter, which had probably at least like near 100 responses, and by far the majority that we saw from Brief Scroll were criticizing Sean for this action. Let me know what you think about what Sean has done here in the comments, and the other stuff.
Honestly, personally, in my end take, honestly, the only thing I realized is that these VAs are being forced to do so. Honestly, personally, for me, I don't really want to use. I don't really want to. If I'm playing Hoyoverse games like Honkai Star Rail, I will not play a Morpheus without the VAs. Pretty much the entire VA itself. The English. So I can see how English works personally. I really do love English. For me, for Japanese, I feel like I'm getting bored. Maybe it's not my style, but Japanese, VAs are pretty good. You know, let's be real. But for the English, nah, I don't really know, guys. But of course, having a union is okay, guys. But personally, if you're forcing this kind of agenda and making it much more confusing, yeah, it's bad. Personally, for me, from my entire understanding of the VAs is that Hoyoverse has some AI protections, which is, yeah, sure. But the thing about this is that uh the thing is that the VA strike, I think its main purpose is the VA itself, the AI, which is doesn't make sense. Personally, it doesn't really make sense about the AI itself. Doesn't really make sense on the AI protections, because both, if the itself wants the AI protection, then Hoyoverse has an AI protection, then why exactly the VA still striking the Hoyo games? Honestly, for me personally, there's only one thing in mind. One thing, or maybe several things, but mainly the one thing I mainly would actually come up to my mind is that they have some sort of agenda. I don't know what kind of agenda. Maybe like forcing Hoyo Games to pay them much higher wages. Yeah, that's a problem. I mean that's the thing I can see pretty much, but I don't really see any other colors besides it. But it is what it is. It's just fine. Personally, for me, I don't really take this much. I just really react and take myself some opinions, because sometimes I can learn through the internet about this, because I am in a situation, especially I'm in a specific course where I do, I make AI, artificial intelligence. Pretty much, I make artificial intelligence in my course, and that's actually a big deal. So yeah, pretty much in my entire situation, the ones that if voice actors are being replaced, that's because the companies are tired, and of course, I think the contracts of the SAG-AFTRA is becoming less and less more, because people themselves, or the game companies themselves, or the consumers themselves, basically we are finding alternatives to them. The EU VAs. Yeah, the EU VAs might be their best bet. And yeah, remember guys, competition always exists. And if competition exists, it's not just on games, but also from other aspects too. This is not just games themselves, but also can be also the companies of voice acting. It can also be games. It can also be um companies like graphics cards. It can also be, anyone. Because in the end, the entire winner here is pretty much the consumers themselves, if you ask me. But maybe my take is not really the best, but that's just fine for me personally. Anyways, for now, this is actually the only thing I really need to react because I have school tomorrow and I still really need to get some shorts out of this. But I actually did have some fun with this, and in the end, I really did enjoy. Thanks, Hirohei, and I still am subscribing to you. And yeah, it is what it is. But yes, yeah, it's most likely an ethical purpose because competition always exists. Just to remind you that competition always exists. And I'm just gonna see you out, ladies and gentlemen. I am gonna be signing out, and tomorrow I'll just play games because I don't do so many stuff, and I lost 2 followers because all of them are subs